Welcome back to Venture Onward, your ultimate destination for all things pop culture and comics. In today's installment, we're diving into the exhilarating narrative of Green Lantern number 10, Hal Jordan returns to OA. After reuniting with Tom Kalmaku and recharging his power ring, Hal Jordan embarks on a mission to locate his friend Razor, wrongfully detained by rogue lanterns, and to alert the United Planets of the impending destruction of the central power batteries. Additionally, the comic features a secondary storyline starring Guy Gardner. The solicitation for Green Lantern number 10 declares, Hal Jordan returns to OA. With his ring freshly powered up, Hal sets off for OA to unravel the mystery surrounding the central power batteries, while Carol faces a decision that will alter her fate forever. Plus, join Kevin Maguire and Green Lantern architect Jeremy Adams as they present Guy Gardner's outlandish adventure involving the United Planets, Lobo, and wrestling. It's Guy's Bogus Lobo Adventure Part 1 of 3. Penned by Jeremy Adams and illustrated by Zermanico, the story kicks off on the planet OA, the hub of the United Planets Lantern Corporation. Hal and Joe covertly infiltrate the city, with Hal seeking answers about the situation. However, Joe warns him against using his ring, emphasizing the danger posed by the ring hunters. Despite his confusion, Hal complies and presses Joe for clarification. Finally, Joe reveals that the United Planets has distributed new rings to magic users stationed on OA, allowing them to pinpoint their location if they tap into a power source. Urging Hal to lay low, Joe explains their covert navigation through OA's piping network. In a tense moment, Joe swiftly ushers Hal into a pipe to evade detection by approaching patrols. Later, as Hal and Joe navigate a hallway, Hal queries how she knew of his presence, to which Joe discloses their inside informant providing intel. Upon reaching the Resistance Corp base, they are greeted by familiar lanterns, including 2-6, Salak, and a shocked Kyle Rayner, who alerts Hal to the unsettling surge of unchecked emotions among them. Hal acknowledges the anomaly, indicating his awareness of the situation. Welcome to the revamped headquarters of the former Green Lantern Corps, where amidst the shadows lurks Kyle Rayner. However, Kyle's current state is far from composed. He rushes into Hal's embrace, conveying the chaotic state of the emotional spectrum, bordering on panic. In response, Hal reassures Kyle that he's here to address the issue, pledging to find a solution. Meanwhile, Joe begins to unravel the events that transpired after Hal's departure from the Green Lantern Corps. Joe reveals that veteran lantern rings are resurfacing, hinting at a sinister plot to eliminate the old guard. Secretly making her way back to OA, Joe witnesses the emergence of new lanterns in the field. These recruits lack training and discipline but exhibit cruelty, with the ability to manipulate their emotional spectrum colors. These nefarious newcomers appear to be widespread, with Joe herself encountering them. Shockingly, they disclose that the United Planets is the mastermind behind their ominous presence. They're involved in this scheme. The mastermind behind it all is the Lord Premier. Joe informs Hal that someone they trusted was tasked with destroying the central battery, specifically the Yellow Lantern Central Battery. The order to destroy the central battery came from the Lord Premier, but they managed to thwart it. However, they suspect he'll attempt it again. Later, we find ourselves focusing on the Source Lantern, crafted by John Stewart, which fuels all the United Planets lantern rings. Currently, it serves as the primary power source for the entire United Planets. Nevertheless, the Lord Premier and his ring hunters have been conducting experiments in an attempt to tap into the power within the Source Lantern. This is the moment Jordan encounters Jessica Cruz. It's also when he discovers she's a double agent. However, just before that revelation, we witness an experiment they're conducting. One of these individuals wields a red lantern and charges full speed at the Source Lantern, only to be swiftly vanquished. In the shadows above, Simon Baz makes his return, arriving to inform Joe that he has located her. Their encounter leads us to the OA science cells, deep in the bowels of the facility, where Joe is being held captive. Simon had previously been confined in one of these pods before Joe orchestrated his escape. As Hal surveys the scene, he notices Larfleeze. Joe explains that Larfleeze nearly decimated the lanterns of the United Planets when they attempted to seize his battery. Regrettably, despite his efforts, Larfleeze was unable to emerge victorious. What we're discovering is that the United Planets are indiscriminately distributing rings. Despite their lack of training, sheer numbers can often tilt the odds in their favor during encounters. However, at the deepest depths of these science cells lies Kelly, our young lantern. Kelly possesses extraordinarily unique lantern powers, seemingly able to manifest them effortlessly. Even the Guardians didn't fully comprehend her abilities. Prior to the destruction of the central battery on OA and the demise of the Guardians, they conducted their own experiments with her. Now, under new management, these experiments continue, but with a more forceful approach. However, Hal remains heedless, unable to grasp the warnings from from others that he's walking into a situation he doesn't comprehend. Ignoring the impending danger of the hunter's arrival, Hal plunges forward. Joe and Simon join the fray, with Simon swiftly securing Kelly while Joe serves as a distraction. As the situation deteriorates, Simon takes a hit to the back, rendering their lantern rings inert. Yet, Joe notices that Hal's Green Lantern ring remains functional while theirs are not. She ponders if this could be the key to turning the tide in their favor, both in this battle and in the larger war against the United Planets. Despite the enemy capturing Kelly, Hal Jordan manages to hold off the ring hunters, allowing Simon, Joe, and himself to escape. They make a swift getaway, eventually finding refuge in a cell where they encounter Razor. Joe, Simon, and Hal swiftly liberate Razor, while Simon seizes one of the unconscious United Planets lanterns who led Hal into the trap. Hal hoists Razor over his shoulder as Simon carries the United Planets lantern. Together, they make their escape. Meanwhile, Jessica Cruz faces the wrath of the Lord Premier, who demands that they be located. He orders her to seek out the unseen and employ any necessary magic to uncover the perpetrators behind the attack in the science cells. These three individuals, magic users adorned with lantern rings, maintain the magical barrier over 2,814. The Premier intends to utilize them to locate the Resistance's hiding place, much to Joe's fury and Hal Jordan's dismay. Hal doesn't offer an apology, instead explaining to Joe that he felt compelled to take action. Joe stresses the gravity of their situation, highlighting Hal's oversight and considering all possible angles. Despite the formidable presence of the Lord Premier, they recognize the necessity of gathering more information before approaching the council. Joe emphasizes the importance of getting past the lanterns wearing the ring Hal possesses, which is powered by the source. Meanwhile, the others focus on extracting information from the United Planets lantern they captured. In a separate scene, Jessica Cruz enters the Chamber of the Unseen, where she's informed that they've been anticipating her request and have obtained crucial information, the whereabouts of the Resistance. Shifting focus, we find ourselves with Guy Gardner, who is currently in a bar. Guy has been tirelessly scouring every nook and cranny in search of the main man, Lobo. Despite his efforts, Guy has had no luck tracking him down. However, when he overhears a radio announcement about an upcoming wrestling match that Lobo is expected to attend, Guy's interest is piqued. Determined to uncover the truth, Guy decides to investigate further. This leads him to a planet 3 days later, where he finds himself perched atop a skyscraper, patiently awaiting the arrival of the intergalactic wrestling match. If you're a fan of the Flash comics, you might recognize this setup from previous storylines involving matches in the Intergalactic and Interstellar Wrestling Federation, and it looks like we're in for another thrilling showdown. Here comes the Omega fan band, teleporting into the scene. Omega is a close ally of the Flash and a renowned wrestling sensation. For those unfamiliar with the Intergalactic Wrestling Federation, they have a unique modus operandi. They exclusively wrestle on planets facing imminent disaster, whether it's a catastrophic failure, apocalypse, or erupting volcano. After their matches, they swiftly repair the damage, leaving the planet as good as new in a matter of moments. During the wrestling match, Guy Gardner makes his grand entrance, proudly declaring his affiliation with the United Planets and his status as a lantern. However, his attention is drawn to a figure known as the Main Man, who he promptly attempts to apprehend. Before Guy can make a move, he's swiftly sent soaring into the atmosphere by a powerful punch from the wrestler. As chaos ensues, the Federation initiates a mass teleportation to evacuate everyone except Guy and the Main Man, who reveals himself by tearing off his mask. Though he resembles Lobo, he denies his identity, warning Guy that their unplanned departure will bring trouble upon them both. As the planet faces imminent destruction, the mysterious figure takes off, dragging Guy and himself through space. Just as things seem dire, Lobo lets out a whistle, signaling the arrival of space dolphins and marking the conclusion of this gripping issue.